and I will speak about the uses of soybean for human consumption in South Africa. I want to acknowledge my two co-authors, Dr. Carmen Miller and Dr. Beulah Pretorius. Now, soy has been part of human consumption for a very, very long time. It started off in China, and it was mostly consumed as a fermented product. And in the late 1800s, it was shipped to America, and from there distributed throughout the whole world. The soybean value chain has various uses, and soybeans specifically, if we look at the oil or soy oil cake or full-fat soy or soybean meal, all have different applications. The oil part can be used in paints, linoleum, oilcloth, insecticides and disinfectants. And when it is separated to specific applications such as the phospholipids, where it is used in plastic, in paint and cosmetics and soaps and in pharmaceuticals. But then we also have cooking oil that can be used both at in the house or in industry. For industrial food products, we've just heard from our previous speaker of the many applications, such as breakfast cereal, mincemeat products, processed meat products, and then of course as ingredient in bread and other bakery products, as well as in milk and cheese. Soy oil cake is mostly used for animal feeds, as well as for full-fat soya that is used in high-quality animal feeds. And then soybean meal is also used for waterproofing, adhesives, textiles, and firefighting foam. If we look at particular ingredients of soya, such as lecithin, we know that this is a natural form of emulsifier in food, and it assists in the mixing of sugars, fats, and oils to prevent greasiness and graininess in the end product. So it can improve texture as well as shelf life, and the application in food products are mostly baked goods, milk powder, baby formula, chocolate spread, hard candies, chocolates and sweets. Then the bean itself can be a meat extender or replacer, as it has similar textural properties and is an excellent source of protein. And here we think about mince or burger mix, beef wort, pork bangers, breakfast cereals, as already mentioned. And then as a vegetable protein or reconstructed and hydrolyzed, it can be used widely in all processed meat products such as bologna and Viennas, in beef burger patties, pies, soup powder, peanut butter, and fish spread. And it is a meat extender and replacer, as it has similar textural properties and is an excellent source of protein, and it assists, as we've already said, in the emulsification process. In flavorings, it's used for instant pasta and in maize chips, as it gives a meaty flavor to the products and aids in the emulsification once again. And then as a flour, it's often used as a coating in baked goods to improve the texture and flavor to those baked goods. Now, the different colors of soya beans, the green soya beans, is something that we are not so familiar yet with in South Africa, although edamame is available at retail level in most retailers, and it is consumed either fresh in salads or soups or stir fries. And I think there's a real opportunity for growth in that field locally, if we look at what is the European trends. Then the yellow soybeans is ripened in the soybean pot into dry hard beans, and it needs to be cooked or preferably soak and cook before consuming. And products that we have known for a long time that is produced from it is soy milk, tofu, tempeh, and tamari, and it also can be milled into soya flour. Then black soybeans is a rare variety, and it's commonly used in fermented dishes, and it's known for its use in traditional medicine and remedies. Just once again, little bit about soy lecithin. It's not only an emulsifier, it's also a lubricant. And it has antioxidant properties, is a flavor protector, and it's used as a wetting agent in the food industry. It can also reduce viscosity in products and assist in the releasing of agents, as it also can control crystallization. And one of the main things is that it's actually flavorless. So, in fact, it's almost in every aisle of a supermarket. So the South African consumer, just to tell you a little bit more about us, the average age of a person expected to live in South Africa, this is pre-COVID, is around about 60 years of age, with females longer life expectancy than males. And then if we look at our age distribution, and we look particularly at the 30 to 34 group, which is part of the group that can now be immunized, they are what we call the youth bulge, and our future consumer of products that will drive purchasing behavior. And if we look at our population, most of the main driver for our population growth in South Africa is births of babies. The South African consumer landscape is made out of economic deciles, 10 economic deciles, equally distributed. According to, as you can see, there is a direct link to the monthly household income in the green blocks. But we have marginalized consumers, which is around about 30% of households in South Africa. Then the lower middle class consumer, which is also about 30%, and then our upper middle class and our affluent consumers, who individually make up 20% of households. Now, if we look at affordability of food, and we look at the Bureau of Food and Agriculture Policy Healthy Food Basket review, in 2020, only at an economic decile of 5 were consumers able to afford a thrifty healthy basket, which is based on the food-based dietary guidelines from the Department of Health. So 50% of our population is not able to afford on a regular basis a healthy meal. And only at income decile 8, they are able to afford a moderate cost healthy basket. So we 20% of the food expenditure, 20% of the all expenditure go to food. So class mobility in South Africa is also a true reality, where people are moving out of the very low income groups to the more affluent group. If you look at from 2017 to 2019, it reduced in the low income from 44% to 37%, and the middle income group increased from 37% to 41%. If we look at the number of processed soybeans in South Africa, we can see that the orange line, that the human consumption part is actually very stable and quite at a low level. The seed and feed is a little bit more flexible, but that oil and oil cake is really driving the curve of the amount of metric tons available. But if in real terms, if we look at soy consumption, although it looks as if it's less, if you look at the right-hand side, you can see that in reality, we're actually producing 10,000 metric tons more for human consumption. If we look at the nutrient composition of soya, 40% of soya is protein, 25% is carbohydrate, and 18% is oil. And in particular, soya can provide 39% of your RDA if you consume 100 grams of cooked soya, and it also contributes particularly to your B vitamin intake. So if we look at the monotonous diets, the picture on the left is what the National Food Consumption Survey actually found what people are eating at ground level. And you can see it's really a very bleak picture because there's no color in that diet. There's no vitamin A rich foods. And in fact, probably in the bread there will be some soya, and that will contribute a little to protein intake, but not enough, and very little milk. We actually, and that's quite an energy dense diet as well. So the focus today is much more to advise consumers to consume a more nutrient dense diet with a lot of color in it and different types of food, because each type of food contributes a different nutrient. So South Africa food-based dietary guidelines, we have one specifically for dry beans and split peas and lentils and soya, and it states that it can be eaten regularly. And the guidelines say 1 serving per day. If we look on at the generally there's a decreasing trend in per capita intake over time, as measured over the past 10 years. Both dry beans and soya going down, soya a little less so. But if you see what is the estimated actual ideal intake, which is about 10 grams per day, or 10 kilograms per year, we can see that there's a lot of growth potential in this particular field. So the South African National School Nutrition Program feeds about 9 million learners 5 days a week. And this 20,000 schools, primary and secondary schools, is in quintile 1, 2, and 3. And they regularly serve soya as part of the school meal. This is the Gauteng province current school menu, where soya is served in a cycle of 5 days twice. Soya mint stew with maize pop and either pumpkin or butternut, or if available, a fruit in season. So if we look at what is all the food trends today, we know that in 2020 the food industry had in no ways that they could have forecasted what would have happened. Neither could we as normal consumers. But so 2021 saw a lot of innovation and movement to embrace the shifts in consumer preferences. First of all, consumers is more conscious of their health and particularly how to keep themselves better immune against disease, tailoring diets and lifestyle to meet their personal needs. Then secondly, convenience and technology. The online capacity has increased as a result of COVID-19, and direct-to-consumer agri-food services will continue to rise in popularity. Then alternative proteins, where particularly soya is seen as potentially huge growth, is plant-based foods and alternative proteins to keep gaining grounds among preferences and increasing opportunities. And then there is a focus where consumers would like to go on buying locally, reducing waste, and more sustainable packaging. And then after a year of travel restrictions, or more of a year now, consumers are seeking more foreign flavors and experiences. Oops. So if we look at protein quality, there are 4 essential amino acids that dominate as limiting amino acids, particularly lysine and threonine in cereals, and then our sulfur amino acids in legumes, such as methionine and cysteine, and then tryptophan in maize. And that is why the previous speaker also talked about the blend that the World Food Programme is using, because by blending the different plant proteins, you can get a full amino acid score. So the digestible, indispensable amino acid score of 1 indicates, or more than 1, that the dietary protein will be fully utilized. It means that all the essential amino acids are present in the right proportions. As you can see, for egg, for instance, it is more than 1. It's just a different scale. It's 1.01. As opposed to soya, which is 91. And the recommended RDA for protein refers to high quality protein, or more specifically to an amount of absorbed protein having an optimal amino acid balance. This means that protein quality needs to be taken into account when matching specific food intakes with recommended requirement levels. So, some of the anti-nutrient factors that we have to consider is that legumes can reduce the absorption of essential nutrients. And particularly in legumes, we have phytic acid, the saponins, plant sterols, the phenolic compounds. We've got enzyme inhibitors like protease, lectins, and our isoflavones. Now, if we look at particularly at phytic acid, it binds nutrients, including protein, iron, zinc, calcium, and manganese, and it makes it thus unavailable to be absorbed into the human body for use. Plant proteins are often mixed with cereals for complementary feeding to increase protein quality in the meals, but both contain phytic acid. So widespread mineral deficiencies among infants and children is then of a major concern because of the bioavailability. But, and that iron absorption can be as low as 2 to 3% from porridge, particularly if whole grain cereals and legumes are used, where it contributes 1 gram phytic acid per 100 gram product. But if there can be lower levels of phytic acid, such as plus minus 1 milligram of phytic acid, iron absorption would increase twofold. And to achieve the degradation of phytic acids in plant-based food, complete enzymatic degradation of phytic acid is recommended, but it's not always possible. So we did this local study where we looked at consumers' perceptions and knowledge about soya, and we did an electronic survey of 1,000 participants between the ages of 25 and 65 years old, and it was a 50-50 male-female split under the higher income groups, and we asked them, in which of the following products can soya be found? And we said hard candies, fish paste, chocolate spread, corn chips, all, Future Life, Pronitro, milk powder, soup powder, meat toppers, sausages, and burger patties. And 27% of consumers ticked the right mark, namely in all of them. And when we asked them how often do you eat soya or soya products, 54% said sometimes, 10% said daily, and 13% said weekly. And 1 to 2 times a month was recorded by 6%, but 17% said they never consume it. And when we asked them, why don't you eat soya? Because then 64% said, well, we in fact do eat soya. And then if we look at what were the dislikes, what was driving is it had a funny taste, was mentioned by 17%. 13% said, I just don't like it. 10% say, I don't know how to cook it, which I think is a great opportunity for an industry. 7% say, I don't know where to find it. And then quite a low percentage actually say that they were allergic to it, 3%. And 1% reported that it causes flatulence. And when we asked them, when would you be more likely to consume soya? And 53% then responded and said, if there were easy and delicious recipes available. And 14% said if it was ready and available, and another 40% says if I know how to cook it. So there's clearly something that is coming out here is that consumers are unaware of how to utilize the product in its totality. Then 11% said, well, they don't think they'll ever be convinced that they will eat soya. So in conclusion, With the World Food Summit taking place next week, based on the Eat Lancet report of 2020, it recommends that less animal food should be part of a diet, and this offers a unique opportunity for soya beans for our ordinary citizens. However, what we do require is investment in research and development. We have to improve the current offering available to consumers by innovating and using modern technology. We have to advertise and do the appropriate consumer education of benefits and uses of a product to appeal to the nutritious conscious as well as the cash-strapped consumers alike. And with that, I would like to thank you.